When I hear Pikmin, what comes to mind? Pikmin 1, 2 and 3. Now I love all of these games very much. As you could probably tell, seeming that my entire channel is based off these games basically. And in this video, I just want to talk about each one. And now we're going to talk about three main things: story, looks and gameplay. So let's get started with, obviously, Pikmin 1. Pikmin 1. Let's start by talking about the story of Pikmin 1. So the basis of this game is Olimar is on a space trip past a planet. A meteorite comes and smacks his rocket. He crashes down to the planet, or he loses all of his ship parts, and he's going to run out of oxygen in 30 days. So it's his mission to retrieve all of his ship parts in 30 days before he dies. And if you don't get all the treasures within 30 days, he'll try to take off. Obviously not having all the parts, he can't take off properly. He crashes back down, and he gets sacrificed by the Pikmin, basically. So yeah, pretty dark story. I do like this story because it really does set the fact in that you are alone on this planet. Obviously you got the Pikmin you find, but you are alone. You've crashed here unexpectedly, it was not your decision to come here, and you have limited time before you literally do just die. So it does put a pretty intense kind of lingering, like, doom that kind of sits over the game. You know, you've got plenty of days, but those days are ticking by pretty fast, so you know, you better be getting those ship parts while you can. Overall, for this being the first game, I think this really does set the tone of Pikmin. Because in the later games, there always will be this sort of time limit, like, you know, you got your time in the day and stuff. Although, this isn't really enforced again in any other game. In Pikmin 3 it kind of is, but it's very hard to run out of juice in Pikmin 3. So, Pikmin 1 is the only, like, one that really does fully, like, give you, you know, you have this much time. If you don't get what you want to get done, you are going to die. So now let's move on to talking about the looks of this game. Just look at this thing. This game is older than me, and I am 16 years old. And yet it looks like this. How? How could a GameCube run something as beautiful as this? Now, arguably the gameplay in the background is the Wii version, but I mean, there wasn't many upgrades there. This thing is just... This is one of the main reasons why I love Pikmin so much. It's like... It looks like a true natural environment. And that really does help Pikmin, because the whole point is you're on this kinda like Earth planet, and the looks just really help it. Because, like, it looks so alien, yet so human. Because obviously the landscape is very earthy, and you got stuff like the enemies and the creatures around which look very alien, and it just really works. And considering this is the first game, it can only go up from here, right? And that is exactly what happened, because later on, as you'll see, the graphics of Pikmin 2 and 3 are beautiful. And the fact that Pikmin 2 was on the same console as Pikmin 1 is incredible, because it seems like such an upgrade. And just look at the enemy design. This is where most of all of the enemies that are featured in this game, this is where they originally came from. They were made for this game. So this is like the first time ever seeing these guys. Look at the Bulborbs. Their design will stay forever. All these enemies, their designs will relatively stay forever. It's amazing that the enemy designs really do work, and they also do have some traits of real life animals to kind of add to that, like, this is Earth but it kind of isn't vibe. It fits really well with this game. And now we will move on to the gameplay of Pikmin 1. Now I think in terms of gameplay, it's probably Pikmin 1's most weakest place, seeming that you got one captain, you haven't got all the luxury features of Pikmin 3 and 2, but I mean, it makes sense, because those weren't even probably thought about when this game was made, seeming that it is the first. And Pikmin 1 is definitely more the experiment than the actual enjoyment of a game. This is definitely more of an idea of what Pikmin could be, as you can later see down the line in Pikmin 2 and 3. By this I mean some things like sometimes the camera's a bit unresponsive, it's really slow to throw Pikmin, sometimes Pikmin's AI are a bit weird. But it's understandable, this game is very old, yet look how well they actually did. There might be some gameplay elements missing and some gameplay problems, but overall this game is very nice. But the Pikmin can feel pretty lazy to control, as sometimes they just get stuck on stuff for no reason, they just stop doing what you're telling them to, or maybe they can't grab onto something. And Pikmin also trip up a lot in this game. They trip over and fall on the floor and you have to wait for them to get back up. And this feature is even more given to yellow Pikmin, so it happens more often with them. But later on, I'm pretty sure this entire tripping over thing was completely removed from Pikmin 3, but I'm pretty sure it can happen in Pikmin 2 still. And also, sometimes hitting your shots can be a bit hard. When you're trying to crush dwarf bulbs and things, sometimes their hitbox is a little bit janky, and you just can't get the right spot. Pikmin 1 is most definitely not my favourite Pikmin game, but it will always have a place in my heart, seeming that it is the beginning of Pikmin. It's still fun to play, but I just feel like it will never level out with what Pikmin 2 and 3 accomplished. And that leads us on to our next game, Pikmin 2. Oh boy, Pikmin 2. I could go on for hours on reasons why I love this game, and maybe one day I will do that, just that. Now, this is probably my favourite Pikmin game. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is a GameCube game. Look at it. This is a GameCube game. I'm playing it on the Wii right now, but this is a GameCube game. Look at the visuals. Look at the amount of Pikmin on screen. Look at everything. Just look at it. It's honestly incredible. And this game was so ahead of its time. Like, really. This is one of my favourite ever video games. And I don't understand why this game is so underrated. If you haven't played this game, find a way to play it. Please, I beg you. It is something else. But anyway, let's talk about the first thing. Story. So what is the story of Pikmin 2? So the story is, you just came back after getting all your ship parts, so this happens straight after Pikmin 1. Olimar gets back to his home planet. Too bad, because his home planet is now in debt, thanks to ravenous space bunnies, in quotation marks, that ate the golden Pick carrots that Louis was meant to be protecting. Now with the planet in debt and Olimar shocked, he drops his souvenir he picked up for his son, and the Hocotate ship sees it on the floor, picks it up. Oh, this is worth a lot of money. So the president's like, maybe there's more of this back on the planet. So they're like, Olimar, Louis, go, off you go, fly off, go get money, there you go. And boom, Olimar didn't even get a chance to see his family, and off he goes back to this planet. So now it's his mission to repay the debt with Louis, which is a whopping 20,000 Pokos. And this game even does go past just repaying the debt. If you want to, you can carry on and get all the treasures, which is a real challenge because some can be really risky, some can be really hard, and some can be very hard to find. Keep in mind there is a total of 201 treasures. The amount of replayability in this game is stupid. You can go back and play this game so many times. You can play it in different ways. You can do weird, cool little glitches. You can just replay it. You can speedrun it. You can do whatever you want. It's incredible. And there's so many places to visit. There's 4 main places, which doesn't seem like a lot, but in which there's about 4 or 5 caves in each place. Actually, I don't think 5. But yeah, in caves, there is so much to explore. And you can even find out what the ravenous space bunnies were that put you in debt originally. Turns out, Louis was the one that ate the golden Pikmin carrots. Pretty dark and deep lore, and I love it. But that's basically it for the story. So now, let's talk about the looks of this game. Now, you already heard me go a bit crazy about this when I first started the Pikmin 2 part. Yes, this game is amazing. It looks so natural. It looks like Pikmin 1, but even better. And they're on the same console. It's amazing. Like, look at this place in the background right now. Look at like the rust texture. It's real. It's real. This game is so old. It's older than me, yet it can pull off such realism. It's just amazing. Not to mention some of the enemies that got introduced into this game, some of them of which just look amazing. And all the bosses, they just look scary. They look real. They look like natural, weird creatures you could find, yet also aliens. It's incredible. This all existing is thanks to Pikmin 1 existing, of course, because that was the experiment, and now this is the developers going all out on the idea. And oh my god, it works. But I'm getting a bit carried away, so now let's move straight to the gameplay of this game. Oh boy, the gameplay is an upgrade from Pikmin 1, that's all I'm saying. Yes, the Pikmin can still have their moments, but the Pikmin now are a lot more clever. They don't trip over as often. They don't get stuck on things as often. You have a lot more control under them, and also now you can throw very fast. If you've got the spamming skills, you've got the throwing skills. Unlike in Pikmin 1, where no matter how hard you pressed, it would still be slow. Pikmin 2 is also the hardest out of the 3 main Pikmin games, which I think is very nice. I love the challenge of this game, and going into a room and thinking, okay, how many Pikmin am I going to lose to this thing? Because I've had many moments where I've encountered a boss and I thought, okay, this is going to be tough. Or I've just completely messed up and lost my Pikmin by accident. That's the risk of it. You can very easily just automatically, boom, there you go, your Pikmin are gone. Because there's so many moments where there's scary enemies and like tight situations where you just gotta try. And Pikmin 2, of course, is the game to introduce dual captains. So now you can separate your captains and swap between them whenever you want. Now this is what I really like about this game, because it definitely is an upgrade from Pikmin 1, where you're in one place. If your Pikmin are somewhere else doing something by themselves, well, you got no one to command them. You know, you better hope they do the right thing. But in this game, you can separate your captains and do 2 things at the same time, and make sure Pikmin stay safe. And that's what I feel Pikmin really is. Trying to multitask a squad of 100 Pikmin. In conclusion for Pikmin 2, I'd say this is what Pikmin is meant to be. Although the time limit is removed in caves, which some people don't like, and also there is no really actual deadline for you to repay the debt, there is no consequence no matter how many days you take. So it does kind of remove the stress, the looming threat out of the game, but I think there's so much distractions, like all the caves and the toughness of some of the enemies and things, that just kind of makes it so that's not really needed anymore. But what more can I say? If you haven't played this game yet, which I would imagine some people might not have, please find a way. This is such a good game. Like, I can't even express how much I love this game. But I think it's time we moved on to our final game, Pikmin 3. Pikmin 3. Wow. Wow, just look at this game. Although, we're not onto the looks just yet. So first, let's explain the story of this game. So, the main story of Pikmin 3 is You now play as the Copilots, which are 3 captains. Now, your planet, instead of being in debt, this time it's in world poverty, and everyone's going to starve if you don't find a planet where you can get food. So here we are, PNF 404, back on the Pikmin planet, or technically not back, because it's these characters' first time. But yeah, if you've played the other Pikmin games, you probably know what's going on. So, things go a bit wrong when we're landing, as they always do, and there is a fault in the ship. It crashes, all the captains get separated, and it's your job to find the other captains and get the food back before you all starve yourselves. So yeah, this reminds me of kind of a combo between the Pikmin 1 and 2 story, as you have a time limit, which is the amount of food you have, but you can increase this time limit the more food you get. So it's not as like unavoidable as Pikmin 1's limit, really, because it's very easy to get fruit in this game, so you can easily just extend your limit and then you'll be fine. And then it's kind of like Pikmin 2, as you're going to the planet, of course, to get something, and you were getting fruit this time. Overall, it's a pretty good story. It's pretty simple, but I mean, oh well, it works. And now let's talk about the looks. I'm dying to talk about the looks of this game. Just look. It's real life. It is real life. Look at the water. They even gave the water physics that react to you now. What I love about this game is that they made the environment so much more like interactive, as you can, when you see just enemies around, you can see them interacting with the environment, either just walking around and sniffing stuff, or just swimming around and doing stuff normal animals would, I guess. Literally everything now looks better, although this game was released many years after Pikmin 1 and 2, so that explains it, because this game came out on the Wii U. Now the Wii U had some beautiful games, this, in my opinion, possibly being the most beautiful. Look at this, and it's just everything. I don't know how to explain it. Everything just looks real. The rocks look like rocks, the water looks like water. It looks like, look at that, I could go swimming in that. It's amazing. And the Pikmin themselves now look a lot more squishy, and they also look very colourful. They look almost tasty. Now remember, your mission here is to get fruit, and some of the fruit you find, it looks edible. It just looks real. They look so juicy and amazing. And the enemies as well, they work just as well as they did in the other games, but even better, because now they look real. This game blends so well with environments also, because you can also have the event of rain, and when it rains, the atmosphere is amazing. You can see all the raindrops, and it just looks real. Once again, everything about this game could be real, honestly. Everything has such minor details added to it, it's incredible. All the captains have really detailed suits now, the captains are detailed themselves. Some things have changed to look a bit more real, I guess, like the onions have now changed, and so has the Toady Bloister and some other enemies. Just seeing the enemies interact with the environment is so great, because it really adds to the fact that they're not there just to kill you. They're there because they live there. They're animals, right? They're just like any other animal, except Pikmin happens to be one of the things they prey on. All the menus also look very futuristic, which also just adds to that bit more of beautifulness. But in terms of looks, I think that's all I can really talk about. So now let's move on to the gameplay, because the gameplay of this game is a treat. The Pikmin have grown massive brains, and they now just, if they get stuck, then you must have made them get stuck, because these guys are very clever now. They barely get stuck on anything. They literally do not trip up at all anymore, I don't think, which is great. The swarm tactic is now gone, and it's been replaced by the charge, where you can lock onto something, press a button, and there you go. All your Pikmin are now just absolutely going in on whatever you choose. It's amazing. Although the swarm was always nice, I think the charge is just as good. So trading off the swarm for the charge, I'm fine with that. You now also have free captains, but that's not it. You can also throw captains to get to certain spots. It's once again another great thing for Pikmin. And also, that's where the go here function comes in, where you can automatically make a captain walk to anywhere on the map where you've explored whenever you want, which is very helpful when you want to do multiple things at the same time and you want someone to go do something, but you also want to walk someone else somewhere. So you can walk someone somewhere, and then you can also walk somewhere by yourself. Pikmin 3's controls are so polished, and there's even multiple play methods. You can play in the gyro mode, or you can play in motion controls. And in Pikmin 3 Deluxe you can even play with both. Unlike in Pikmin 1 and 2, where you had to play the way the console wanted you to play. And this game, I'd say, is also pretty replayable. I have played through this game countless times, and it just doesn't get boring. It's just so fun. Now, I know it's probably just because I'm an absolute hardcore Pikmin fan, so maybe some people don't feel the same way. But personally, this, for me, is like, this is just, this is the peak of humanity. What more can you need in the world when Pikmin exist? So in summary, Pikmin 3, very good game. I'd say Pikmin 2 is probably my favourite, but Pikmin 3 might be a close second, because I love everything about this game. I love everything about every Pikmin game. Except for Hey Pikmin. Anyways, I think that's going to be the end of this video. This was more of a kind of just passion video. I just wanted to, you know, put my opinions out there on why I love these games so much and am, like, strangely addicted to them. But yeah, I was just thinking, I really just want to spread the love of these games. If this video for some reason got a lot of views, then I hope that gets more people to play Pikmin, because that's my goal on YouTube, really. Make people play this game, make this more recognized, because these games are something else, like, really. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. I hope I sound a bit more interesting than usual in this video, because I normally sound a bit boring, I think. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, that would be nice, because we are on our way to 900 subs, and if we get there, that would be a dream come true. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, like the video, join the Discord server, do whatever, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.